SCORE Northeast Wisconsin and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences. From starting to sustaining growth, learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you miss anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning. I hope you're having a great Saturday morning. Welcome to Biz Talk with SCORE. My name is Terry Pinch, and I'm one of the co-hosts this week. And joining me is Rick Sansa's co-host. Rick, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Terry.
Excellent. This week, our guest is Becky Reichelt from the Valley VNA Senior Care. So it's a great organization, a nonprofit 501(c) in the Valley that a lot of people should be learning about, and something to think about as you're looking at donations in the future. But to get started, we want to introduce you to Becky. So Becky, welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I can. Thank you, Terry and Rick, for having us share our wonderful story about the Valley VNA. And as you indicated, I am with the Valley VNA, and I am the current president and CEO. I've been with the Valley VNA for about a year and a half, and knowing it being such an incredible organization, and the previous president and CEO had retired, I knew it was a natural fit for me to apply and to be a part of this team, and it was a great decision. I'm very proud to serve as the president and CEO at Valley VNA Senior Care.
And you've spent much of your career in senior care. Why does this career feel so right to you?
Yeah, you're right. All of my professional career has been supporting seniors, their family members, educating the staff that work in assisted living, nursing home, aging services in general. And, you know, I didn't really know that I wanted to go that direction until an experience I had while I was in college. I was a part of an amazing research project through UW-La Crosse. And the concept was, how do we help family members to have a more meaningful visit with their loved one when they're going to visit their loved one who are living with dementia. So the research project focused on providing that person connectedness and knowing what's important to the persons living with the disease and how we can enhance that sense of pleasure and purpose and peace for the persons. And I fell in love with it during that process, during my getting my master's degree and really understanding the value of personhood for persons living with dementia, but also for those others that might live in assisted living or nursing home settings.
Okay, and we'll come back to that in a minute, but first, though, I'd like you to just tell our listeners, what is Valley VNA Senior Care and what's its mission?
Yeah, you bet. Valley VNA Senior Care. We're located in Neenah, although we provide services throughout the Fox Valley area. VNA stands for Visiting Nurses Association, and that's really how our organization began 118 years ago. So in 1908, a group of women got together to form an organization which was then called the Neenah Menasha chapter of the Visiting Nurses Association. The first nurse was hired in 1908, and I share this incredible story because I think it's so powerful. Her name was Ida Heinke. She made 100 home visits within the first month of working, and primarily on foot between Neenah and Menasha. And her focus was really on wellness visits, support to people who lived in that community. And, you know, she really has set that foundation for us to continue to provide that great care and support to people that we serve.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what services are offered and how is that changing as you look at the aging population today?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we're always evolving. And I think what's important about the Valley VNA and our Neenah Menasha community is that being established in the community for so long, we've recognized that we have to adjust and adapt to what especially seniors. Now that has become our primary focus is seniors living in this area. So we know that not everybody wants to leave their home. And following suit to that initial service that was provided, the Visiting Nurses Association, we continue to provide in-home care So we don't have skilled nursing care, but we have companionship and supportive care where one of our nurses does do an evaluation to determine what somebody needs to live in their own home. And then we have caregivers that we call our personal care assistants that go into a person's home and provide that support that they need, such as preparing breakfast or doing laundry services or helping them with their personal care needs if they might need that. And a lot of time it's the companionship to reduce that social isolation and having those connectedness. But we also have known that not everybody can live at home. So in about 1998 is when our assisted living was built. And we do have 61 assisted living rooms. And then we also have 32 independent senior apartments. So we recognize that we also need to provide that if somebody needs a more structured, safe environment, that we do have the apartments and our assisted living community available as well.
Okay. So when you look at the services offered by Valley VNA, how do you work with other nonprofits in the area to make sure you're providing and covering the services seniors need?
Yeah, we certainly know that we can't do it alone. Collaboration in especially senior care and senior living is so important, because there's varying needs. Some people need a safe environment to live. Some people just need companion services. Some people need social connectedness. So we're feel very fortunate to be able to collaborate with, as an example, the Neenah Public Library, where we have the library staff come in and do story time for all ages. So our residents as well as the community comes in to bring their children or grandchildren, and there's just that intergenerational support. We also collaborate with numerous other services so that we can enhance that quality of life for people who live here, and those that we serve out in the community. Recently, we've been focusing on another great need, which is respite. And we've gotten many collaborators within the Neenah Menasha community to get together for us to figure out how we can provide that respite support for the caregivers of those who are caring for loved ones that still live in their own homes out in the community.
So as you just talked about adding respite care, how do you go about as an organization determining what services need to be added and then actually adding them?
Yeah, that's a lot of people share with us, that I think because of the reputation of the quality of care that we provided in our in-home care, our other community-based programs, and of course in our assisted living and independent apartments, they've come to us as a resource. They've come to us to say, how can we expand this? How can we focus on that? We look to ensure that it fits into our mission, and our mission is that we want to provide quality choices for senior living. So if it fits into that mission, if it's helping to fill an unmet need in the community, we don't want to duplicate or replicate services that are already out there. But if it fills a niche or a need, that's one of those areas that we look at. And that's how we expanded our respite program from caregivers through our caregiver support groups to other referral sources, social workers, other referral agencies have shared that there's such a need for that respite program.
All right. So how are you funded? How does the VNA get its money?
Yeah, in a variety of ways. As you had shared in the beginning, we are a nonprofit organization. We obviously have fees for services. So for people who live here, they pay their monthly support service for living here. There are fees that we charge for people that receive our in-home care services. But we also are very, very grateful for the donors that do extend their support to us to support new initiatives, to support opportunities for our staff, for development. And then we do also write grants. We receive some grants through some local funding as well.
All right. So as you look at the variety of services offered, it obviously comes with the need for staffing.
Yes.
How many employees do you have right now?
We currently have about 160 staff who work with us. not everybody works full time. We're trying to be very flexible based on what the needs are. So many of our staff work on and what fits into their schedule. We call it like a float pool staff. So we're very flexible to work with staff that might be going to school and they need that flexibility because of their schedule. Or maybe they're parents and they can't work certain hours, but they can work some hours. So we do have a total of 160 staff. Some are full-time, some are part-time, some are, very casually that they work, and it works for us, so that the staff are satisfied with those hours that they are able to work, and obviously then meeting the needs of our residents and the clients that we serve too.
Okay. So before the show, we had a quick conversation about staffing. Now let's just talk through that again. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen in terms of becoming more difficult to find and retain employees over time since before the pandemic?
Yeah, right. And as I mentioned in our previous conversation before the show, there was always a workforce shortage in healthcare, even before the pandemic. But we did recognize, and this is nationwide, not just here in local Neenah-Menasha, the impact that the pandemic had on the well-being of staff that worked in settings like ours. And there was such a burnout rate and just the emotional toll it took on caring for residents or patients or clients when they couldn't have that natural connection with their family members when visitation was restricted. Plus, it impacted how we provided care when people were in isolation, if they had COVID-related symptoms, and the PPE, that the staff had to wear. All of that just impacted a shift. And I recently heard that about 30% of the workforce was lost in healthcare after the pandemic, and we've just not caught up. We've just not caught up that way. Some people have chosen, different environments to work in, different industries. But we do know that there is a niche for some great people that have the passion and the customer service skills and the desire to give. And so we've been really focusing on creative ways on how we can personally train new caregivers to enter the field. We work with the local high schools, UW-Oshkosh and their nursing program. And one of the things that we've really been focusing on is we've created our own caregiver training program called our Foundations of Care, where we interview people. We want to find out their desire to be a caregiver, but maybe they just haven't had that experience or the skills yet. So we then spend a significant amount of time with them talking about the value of the culture we create here, the interventions and the connections to the residents and clients that we serve, but then also the skills needed, the skills to help somebody to eat, the skill to help somebody to get them dressed, to give them a bath or a shower. And so we found that to be very successful in a way for somebody to newly enter our healthcare workforce and gain that confidence through that caregiver training program that we offer.
Okay. I think we're going to take our first break now. You're listening to Biz Talk with SCORE on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Biz Talk with SCORE on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense along with Terry Pinch this week, and we are having a very interesting discussion with Becky Reichelt, but we'll get right back to that in a little bit here. First, I'd just like to take a moment to talk to you about SCORE Northeast Wisconsin. SCORE Northeast Wisconsin serves a 29-county area in northeast and north central Wisconsin. We also have volunteers that work with us, more than 50, and each is an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, HR, retail best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost, confidential mentoring session and or to learn more about SCORE Northeast Wisconsin, please visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. You can learn more about how the SCORE chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE. Within a few days, a SCORE mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, please visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And to support small business people, SCORE Northeast Wisconsin is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, click on the volunteer button and fill out the short application, and we'll get back to you to explain more. And finally, this reminder about the Biz Talk with SCORE podcast. The Biz Talk with SCORE podcast brings you the same real-world information and insights from experienced entrepreneurs and business leaders, just like Biz Talk with SCORE on WHBY. However, the Biz Talk with SCORE podcast is available when you are. So listen and subscribe today, tomorrow, or whenever you want. Available on most podcatchers and podcast apps. So thanks again for joining us this morning on Biz Talk. And now back to our guest, Becky Reichelt. She is the president and CEO of Valley VNA Senior Care. And Becky, I just have to ask, how important are volunteers to the Valley VNA, and how do they complement your work?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question, because we really couldn't do much of the work that we do without our dedicated volunteers. And we're very fortunate. Earlier we talked about collaboration, and I think the largest group of volunteers that we have is through our Meals on Wheels program, with a great collaboration between the Nina Menasha Emergency Society and Theta Care Nina Hospital, where the hospital prepares the meals for us. We have dedicated volunteers through the Nina Menasha Emergency Society who deliver the meals to our clients, and then we coordinate that entire process. So that's our largest group of volunteers, is through our Meals on Wheels program. And then we have a very amazing group of volunteers that visit on a regular basis in our assisted living communities, where their purpose is to provide connection, social engagement, a sense of purpose, a sense of pleasure. So we have volunteers that may come in and provide some spiritual connections to our residents. We have volunteers that come in and do baking activities with our residents. Another part of our volunteer program are pilots through our rickshaw program. So we have this incredible bike, and we just got a brand new one. We order from the country of Denmark, where it's an opportunity where it's called Cycling Without Age, where the residents sit in a bucket, and then we have a volunteer pilot that drives the battery-operated bike, but our residents then get the opportunity to ride through the Nina community and enjoy that experience as well. So those are all opportunities for volunteers. And anything that people can bring their skills and their talents to. We have volunteers that play cards and games with our residents, do puzzles. The things that our residents value is what we're looking for.
Any musicians that come in?
We do. Yes, we do. Goodness, we have lots of them, because music is so important in the era of the residents that we are serving and caring for. So we typically on about twice a month or so, we have special musical groups or entertainers that come in to play some of those favorite tunes of our residents.
So besides the staffing that we talked about in the first segment, what other opportunities do you have administratively at Valley VNA?
Yeah, we have obviously the most number of staff that we do are the direct caregivers that provide that direct hands-on support. But certainly we look at what other aspects do our residents and our clients need. So we have a team of staff that focuses on life enrichment and providing those engagements. We have housekeeping staff, maintenance teams, our cooks and our kitchen staff. But we also have a level of administrative team that really is behind the scenes, ensuring that our staff are getting paid and that we're processing the bills and really strategically looking at all the operations. So we have a team of operators that focus on our regulatory compliance, the importance of focusing on our operations, following our policies and procedures, educating and training our new staff. So there's quite a few staff behind the scenes that support those that are directly connected to our residents and clients.
Now, you've been there a little over a year and a half.
Yes.
What's been the biggest surprise? What's the one thing you didn't anticipate when you started that kind of snuck up on you?
Oh, that's a good question. I had known about the Valley VNA and the great reputation. I think the piece that still some people tell us is that we're the best kept secret in Neenah. We're located in a beautiful community, a neighborhood, so people may not even know that we're in this community in Neenah. So I think it's that we don't want to be the best kept secret. We want to be able to ensure that everybody is aware of the opportunities and the services and the support that we provide.
All right, and we're going to take our second break, and you're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we will be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Biz Talk with Score. This week we're talking to Becky Reichelt from the Valley VNA Senior Care. And before we get back to Becky, though, I do want to give you a quick update on some Score news. If you go to our website, you will find that there's been some changes. It's been updated. They just finished a nationwide update, and each of the chapter websites changed as well. And so ours has changed. You can still get there using the old email or website address, but it has changed a little bit. Our address is now score.org/WI/Northeast-Wisconsin. So again, that'll take you to the website. For our webinars and seminars, you will see a learning tab now. That's replaced the workshops and events, and it's now called learning. And that will take you in, and you'll see the whole series of paid or free website or learning opportunities too. And there are still literally hundreds of them out there that you can take either live or as a webinar. So again, it's score.org/WI/Northeast-Wisconsin. Okay, and with that, we're going to turn back to Becky. And Becky, we want to talk a little bit more in depth now about some of the services. And I guess we'll start with the one that VNA became most famous for. What it was known for was in-home care. Mm-hmm. So we talked about it a little bit, but can you walk our listeners through what in-home care really is and what services are offered?
Yes, sure. And really, it starts with somebody just giving us a call. We have a program that really is often where people start to learn about what resources are available, what support that they might need. It's called our Options and Solutions program. Very often people call and just ask general questions. So one of our nurses or our senior living advisor will meet with the family members just to talk about what services we offer. And or if we can't meet the needs of that person, we will make referrals out to other organizations in the community that could better serve the needs of that person. So if somebody is first interested in in-home care, one of our RNs, one of our nurses will schedule a visit with the potential client as well as their family members and really just talk through what exactly they're looking for in in-home care services. I mentioned earlier, we don't provide skilled nursing or skilled therapy in-home care services. Our support is really focused on that supportive type of living, how we can help people to stay at home as long as possible for the long term with the support. So through that initial visit with the nurse, an assessment is done, and this assessment will determine if that person needs help with their personal cares, if they need help with some light housekeeping, meal preparation, transporting their loved one to doctor's appointments, maybe going grocery shopping for the person. So it's a variety of services that's really based on what that assessment is telling us that that person needs. We also then customize based on what the person needs, the amount of hours and the frequency of visits. We don't have a limit to the maximum or the minimum number of hours that people they want. We try to customize that as best as we possibly can to the time of the day and the day of the week that is needed. We also try very, very hard to have the same in-home care caregiver provide that service into their person's home. Often that is a resistance to people who receive in-home care, is having a stranger come into their home. So we really try to have the same one or two or three staff or in-home care staff persons to enter that home and provide that service. The service is based off of that assessment, and then we create what we call a plan of care. So during each of those visits by our in-home care staff, they provide what's written on that plan of care that the client, their family member, and our team has determined to best meet that person's needs. Those assessments and care plans are updated regularly because we know people change through their aging process, or maybe there's an incident that occurs and they need more care or support. So our nurse is constantly involved in creating and updating that assessment too.
Okay. So with all the services and the opportunities people have, how important is the actual conversational side of somebody just being in the home?
Yeah, that is really probably the important key to the success of the situation. Oftentimes family members will say to us, we know mom needs more care and support at her home. We know she doesn't want to leave the home, but we don't know how to have that conversation. So oftentimes our staff, through our options and solutions program, either one of our nurses or our senior living advisor, will just start having that conversation. And it doesn't start by saying your daughter thinks you need more care at home. It starts by saying, how do you feel things are going in your home? Do you feel that you might need some extra help? You know, it takes a lot of time to get your food prepared, as an example. Or we've heard that you've fallen a couple times. There are ways that we can help you with your shower or your bath to hopefully prevent some further falls. So it's not blaming the person. It's looking at how we can enhance their quality of life as they stay in their personal home.
Okay. So when you look just at the population, just an opinion, but how important is offering in-home services? Do you believe most people want to stay at home first, or is it something that maybe they're not as interested in?
Yeah, I think it varies. I think if you would talk to most of the clients that we serve now, or in the past, they want to stay at home. And we all would, right? We all have that familiarity, that comfort, that sense of security. So if we can enhance that by adding on our in-home care services, that's beneficial. But we also know there are safety factors that may prevent somebody to live at home. We also know most people can't afford an individual one-person in-home caregiver 24 hours a day to stay in their home. So then conversations may happen where that transition to the next level of living, either here at the Valley VNA and our assisted living or somewhere else, is also a very gentle but needs to be purposeful conversation when that happens. It's not an easy conversation when people do not want to leave their home.
And how does in-home care complement hospice care?
Yeah, that's a good question. That, hospice care is nothing that we provide within the Valley VNA Senior Care Organization, but we do collaborate with many hospice organizations. There are incredible hospice providers in the Fox Valley area who provide hospice services in personal homes or in assisted livings or even nursing homes as well. But hospice doesn't provide 24-hour care. Hospice has a team of people that come in and provide RN nursing support, CNA, certified nursing assistant support, chaplain support, volunteer support, social work support, bereavement support. But the intention of hospice is not to provide 24 hours or even continual amount of care. So often hospice agencies will collaborate with in-home care agencies like us or others to supplement that support. So that's, again, another example of collaboration in healthcare, where in-home care agencies collaborate very closely with the hospice providers, where the hospice RNs are the care manager of the situation, but our team can supplement the time that hospice isn't there.
Okay. So let's move on to assisted living and independent living. So what options are available, and how do you help families make the decision on which option they should take?
Yeah. Again, it's through that conversation. Oftentimes it's might be a long phone conversation with Christy, who's our senior living advisor, talking about what those options are. Sometimes some people only think the only option is a nursing home. So oftentimes it's education about how independent senior housing with supplemental services might be what that person needs now, or assisted living level of care might be what they need. Sometimes the general community just isn't aware. They think of senior services or senior living as only nursing home, which has an incredible space in this continuum of care as well. But here on our campus at the Valley VNA, we have, as I mentioned earlier, 32 independent senior apartments, which we also can add on services if people who live in the apartments need additional care and support. We call it Independent Plus, where we can add on support, or they would transition to the assisted living, where we have 61 rooms that are divided into three, we call them courts, 3 courts. And it's really having that conversation, talking about how and the approaches we can use to enhance that quality of life and quality of care. You know, there aren't many people that I have experienced in my many years of doing senior living care that people are eager to move into our setting. It's all about the planning process. And typically we want that person, even if they're living with dementia, to be a part of that process, being a part of that decision. Sometimes we'll have the family members and the potential new resident come in and just join us for lunch, just to see and experience, because many people in this era that we're caring for have this stigma of an institution, of you now are going to direct me on everything that I need to do. And that's not the case. We embrace a culture called person-directed life, where we want the residents, as best as their ability, to make those decisions about their life living here. So we want them to be included in that decision making right away. We want them to look at a potential new apartment or a new room or a suite where they may move into to see what apartment or what furnishings and personal belongings would fit into there, to give them that feeling of home. It's not like their home, but that feeling of home for them.
So one of the things, I mean, I've heard in the past of people saying of going into a home as well, I'm going to be bored and there's nothing to do. Can you talk about life enrichment programs and how that fits into your offerings?
Yeah, I think that's really key, especially when you think about the sense of the feeling of loss of independence. You know, maybe they aren't able to drive anymore. Maybe they aren't able to go to the church that they used to go to. Maybe they can't go to the Y like they used to. We want those things to still happen if they're capable, so we will find volunteers or somebody to help them to get to those locations. But when they physically or emotionally or cognitively just aren't able to participate in those, we want to bring them here. We want to bring them to their home here. So we have calendars of life enrichment programs that happen on a daily basis. We have a calendar for each part of our so one for the the independent apartments, and then a calendar for each of the 3 assisted living courts. The programs that we offer are based on the abilities of the persons who live here, but we really try to incorporate activities, life enrichment programming, that's based on physical exercise, that's based on social connectedness, that's based on their past leisure interests, that brings the importance of spiritual connection to the residents. So, you know, we giggled earlier before the show about bingo, and yes, that's an important part of the days of our residents. But exercise, I think, is just as equally as important. So we have a variety of exercise programs. You do Wii bowling. Balloon volleyball is another big hit. So it's more than just the exercise that we traditionally might think of. It's different ways of incorporating physical movement into different types of activities.
Okay. We talked a little bit about the conversations you have as people come into the home. As someone moves from their own home into Valley VNA, how do you work through the transitions from independent living to independent plus to assisted living?
Yeah. Again, there's even the stigma from moving from independent to the assisted living, just like how we see people moving from their own personal home on our campus. So again, I will bring up Christy, our senior living advisor. She does a beautiful job of helping people to transition. The other piece, if somebody is already living on our campus, we incorporate engagements where everybody is connected together. So it isn't we're just stigmatizing or separating or segregating activity programs just for people who live in Emerald Court or Coral Court. Those that live in the independent apartments also participate in social connections with everybody. We want it to be a community. That sometimes helps because they've gained friendships for people who live in the other parts of the building, and they build those relationships. So we often see that if somebody does have to transition from independent to assisted, they ask, well, my friend so-and-so who used to live in independent now lives over in Sapphire. Can I have lunch with him? Can we sit at the same table? So I think it's helping us to bridge that connection. I also think there's fear. I think that's that resistance is fear, because maybe they're thinking they're getting closer to the end of their lives, and the physical and the cognitive changes that are happening, that fear of growing older happens. So we need to provide that emotional connection and support to them as well. I also want to share that we've had great success with that move. Once people have moved, we frequently hear, oh, I probably should have done this sooner. The support helps me to be more independent where I thought it was going to make me dependent. So yeah, it's it's the culture that we're trying to create of everybody connecting to home.
Okay. So now I want to go back to early in the show when you talked about some work you did at UW La Crosse, memory care, and how it was around communication with people with memory issues. What did you learn from that, and what can you tell people?
Yeah, I will say, again, that's what drew me to this field almost 35 years ago. The value of knowing the person who's living with the disease. And it's really not just our words, it's our actions and our attitudes. So you will always hear us say the person living with dementia, not the demented person. We always want to focus on who that person is, their life story, what brings them. We have created a purpose statement that calls the importance of inspiring purposeful, pleasurable, and peaceful living. All of us here have that purpose, have that foundation of care. So we want to know for each individual person, especially those living with dementia, what gives them a sense of purpose, a sense of pleasure, and a sense of peace, and incorporating that into the day. So if I'm engaging with somebody who's living with dementia, I want to have all these thoughts in the back of my mind of what's going to bring them laughter or feeling safe or bringing them a connection. So if I know their occupation was a farmer, and I know that they have shared numerous times that, they had 150 head of cattle on their farm, and they love to build their garden, in the spring of the year, I'm going to start off a conversation that's going to bring success. I'm going to talk about that 150 head of cattle that they had on their farm. I'm going to encourage the family members to have an aerial view of their farm as a photo on the wall in that residence room so we can engage about farming. If that resident talks about they need to get out to their farm and make sure, their cattle is okay, we're going to talk about, how hard it is to be a farmer. We're not going to say, well, you're no longer a farmer anymore. You don't have to worry about. We need to validate the feelings that person still has, because those long-term memories are still there. They still identify to who they are as a person. So connecting with things that person values is still important, even late into the disease process.
So what drives you to continue doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I think it's just the impact that we can make on the persons that we serve, as well as seeing the smiles on our staff when they are having that good day, when they're using those interventions and approaches that they know are bringing happiness to our residents. What drives me is just witnessing the amazing quality of care and quality of life that we provide to the people who live here and those that we provide services to out in the community. That just gives me that energy and drive to how can we continue to expand that person-centered life for the persons that we serve.
And finally, as we wrap up this segment, as we're seeing people like Rick and I, the baby boomers, kind of head into retirement, and the next generation as well starting to reach that. Is that creating demand that's going to be harder to meet, or is you seeing services equal to the demand?
I think that we're very fortunate in the Fox Valley area to have such a variety of services. So there are organizations that can provide the unique needs of baby boomers and maybe the services, and maybe it's not bingo anymore, right? Maybe it's other types of engagements. I think we're all thinking, those of us in aging services, looking at the demand, but also the type of services and the type of support that's needed. Maybe shifting in the dining experience, shifting in the type of life enrichment programs that we're offering. Just really looking at what that generation might need and the care and the support too. Okay. I certainly think it'll be more opportunities to engage in the community than just providing things on our campus. Yeah.
Excellent. We are going to take our final break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score and WHBY, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense, and with Terry Pinch this week, we've been talking with Becky Reichelt. She's the president and CEO of Valley VNA Senior Care. And before we get back to our conversation, I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsors here at Biz Talk. Hailing & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for the future. Hailing & Associates, personal connection, positive results. Wherever you are in life or in the life of your business, Johnson Financial Group works to match the banking and wealth services needed to help you complete your mission. Thank you to the Business News for promoting our program and the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin with the latest business news and topics for the region. We are grateful for the support of Community First Credit Union. At its core, Community First Credit Union is a community of member owners where people work together to improve their financial well-being and help one another. New North, the Regional Marketing and Economic Development Corporation, is an active supporter of SCORE. The New North facilitates economic growth and helps people in this region live their best lives. Since 1919, Baird has guided families through investment, trust, estate, and tax planning advice. So no matter what the future brings, you can be confident you're ready because your family is Baird's focus. We'd also like to recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous donation to Biz Talk and SCORE Northeast Wisconsin. And Becky, would we, if somebody's interested and wants to learn more or would like to donate to Valley VNA, where would you direct them?
Yeah, I think one place to start is our website, which is valleyvna.org. Our website includes information about all of our programs and services, and there's also an opportunity in there for if people want to apply for a paid position, how to inquire about our volunteer opportunities, as well as some resources or suggestions, opportunities for making financial donations as well. So our website is a good spot, or anybody's feel free to call our main number, which is 920-727-5555.
Well, Terry, I'll turn the show back to you.
Okay. So, Becky, what does the future hold for the Valley VNA?
Yeah, we talk about our next 100-year journey. We've been doing the services in our Neenah-Menasha community for 118 years. What does our next 100 years look like? So we are constantly looking at services that will enhance people to help them to stay at home. I think the community-based programs are an area of opportunity for us. I also think as we talked about the workforce shortage, that we have an amazing opportunity here in our assisted living, but probably at the capacity of providing assisted living support due to that workforce crisis. So, and with the desire for people to stay home as long as possible, enhancing those community-based services. We did talk a little bit about our in-home care program, our Meals on Wheels program. We also have an incredible foot care service program where we provide with registered RNs foot care services on our campus here, as well as over 10 other locations within the Fox Valley area. That is a growing need. Seniors sometimes maybe aren't able to manage that process of foot care support, or maybe they're living with diabetes and they need an RN to look at some of those impacts of diabetes on lower extremities. So that's been a growing need. Our respite service, we just started that in February, knowing that that is a great need to support people, especially those who are living with dementia and the caregiver needing that support. We also recognize our need for community, being a community resource. So providing collaboration with other organizations for education, for training, for support group, for helping the caregivers to make their journey through this process of aging as well. So those are some of the opportunities we're looking at.
All right, great. And Becky, thanks for being on the show. This is a very important topic. Both Rick and I have experienced it, and know many others who have. So thank you again for all you do, and thank you for being on the show.
And thank you for inviting us. We certainly appreciate it.
Okay. And for listeners, you can find us again at Biz Talk with Score on any of the various podcatchers, and you can get prior episodes for the last 3 years. We've been on the air for 25 years in WHBY, and we're really appreciative of all the support. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.